While I look at that piece of glass, you look at this one.
My business has been around since 1980, and the way I've worked for probably 20 years, I've just had almost a romance with vessels, and what I have been looking at is the ceremonial nature of a vessel, and the more detail and surface interest you put in it, people are curious about why it was done that way and how it was done. This piece of glass was another option I was looking at, and it's a combination of silver stain that is between the two layers of glass. There's an amber layer of glass in the back and a clear layer of glass on the top, and in between I've painted this silver stain. On top of the very top, I put the stringers laid in on the glass, and some of this frit is just sprinkled onto the surface. So you get a very much a three-dimensional quality. You can see it through that one's laying on top of the other. Yeah, it came kind of naturally because I was excited about what I was doing in the early days, and people would see my work through the Guild or through the Craft Council, Saskatchewan Craft Council, and so I would get queries about what are you doing, can I come and take a look and see what you're doing, and maybe I can use this too, even within another medium. In the early days I had students, and I was setting up in my studio, which really doesn't have a lot of room, in order to try to teach them, and that entailed cleaning up my studio to a certain extent, and then teaching the class, and then reassembling myself for my work that really had to carry on. And it got a little tiresome, and I couldn't have many students at once. Through USCAD now, it's a university Certificate of Art and Design program, but it's not limited to certificate students at all. I get a lot of people who are hobbyists who have done some stained glass and just wanted to try this out to see if they want to go ahead. They get quite an education in 2 days. It's a 2-day workshop for the introduction class, and we do 2 projects and we fire them, and it's quite amazing that what people see they come up with. It's just like Christmas. They just love it, and it's really gratifying for me to see that kind of progression, and their heart gets going, you can tell, and they would like to carry on with this. I'm just partway through a production of a small fused glass piece, and I've got the first layer all cut already, and now I'm trying to get my head around doing the second layer and just what I need for the color to come into being. And what I've decided to do with this is keep fairly simple blocking forms so that I can get in there and adjust it in subsequent firings and add texture. So here we are with the first layer is down here already, and so now I've started cutting the second layer, and when we put it into the kiln, we lay it up like a small lasagna, so you kind of have a layered effect like this with the seams kind of overlapping. And I place it as I'm going, and here I've got another piece of this glass that is really kind of a mysterious glass. It fires into this really beautiful dark coral color, but it comes in the sheet in this color. Fused glass uses a lot of different varieties of glass, and I talk about that in even the first class I teach. There is an opaque glass and there's a transparent glass. Both of them have a huge range of colors, so they can be mixed quite efficiently with shifting colors by adding a clear color on top of an opaque glass. On top of that, there's glasses that have a metallic surface of various colors and tones, and then you can get right into the echelons of dichroic glass with its precious metals on the top of glass. Now once I have this fired, it fires into a flat 2-layer piece, nice and even, 1/4 inch it ends up being, and then I can add some surfaces to it. Like the second firing, I'm going to add some clear iridescent glass that creates texture on the surface, and I will consider later whether I'm going to do This is what they call frit. It's crushed glass at a certain texture of cut. Then, just before I fire it the second time, I'm going to put texture underneath the whole piece. You can pick up the texture that's underneath that you have applied. In this case, it is like a cake decorating tool that you put a paste on the kiln shelf and it picks it up. It's actually on the underside, and that will stay when you decide to mold it into shape. So it'll really pick up the light nicely when it's about this far off the ground. As a matter of fact, if I'm working on commission work that's stained glass for a length of time and I teach a class, I get all excited about getting to have fun with fusing, and I haven't for a while, for months at a time. So it's really nice to kind of perk me up. I just finished doing that and I thought, well, I gotta start doing some firing really quick here. This piece is one of the more recent pieces I've done for the wall, and it's called In the Shadows of the Boreal Moon. It's something that I hope is attractive from a distance, but once you get close you can really pick out minor details. Within the last 5 years I've been really looking at wall work. So I make a piece and I suspend it a very short distance from the wall so that the colors, the light or the sun goes through the glass and cascades onto the wall, and that form is read back through the lighter tones of the glass as well. And as you move around the room, it seems to take on a breath. And that's the whole thing. The light is so important in glass. And it's really nice to recognize it as where that light goes when it passes through the glass. You can see these images. It's attractive to just about everybody. It's like eye candy.
Most people are familiar with stained glass. You see it often in churches, heritage homes. It's a beautiful addition in any home, but do you know how it's made? There are people right here in Saskatchewan who not only can make it, but they can teach you how to make it. Watch this.
So when I moved to Saskatchewan, before that, when I lived in the States, I used to do a lot of photography. And when I came here, I decided I wanted to try something new. And so a friend of my husband did some stained glass work. So I took a couple lessons from her, and after that, I love it. I've never run out of different projects and ideas that I want to do. So this piece here, actually, I based off of a 14th century Japanese woodblock print. So I can actually get my ideas and my inspirations from, just about anything, really. It's a hobby that's definitely gone a little crazy. So every piece that I lay in has to be measured and then cut accordingly so that the whole thing will fit together. So you can see where this becomes a pretty labor-intensive process. Well, I mainly focus in copper foil technique and traditional leading, so I would consider myself to be a panel person. What you would typically see, like church windows, would be leaded windows. If people have stained glass features in their home,